everyone, I'm Captain Logan, and look, it's Connor Nielsen. Today, Connor and I are going to tell you how we felt about Bloodshot, the film based on the Valiant comic that Valiant wants you to think a lot more people read than I think possibly could have, that released in the early 90s. Connor, they're trying to build a shared universe, a Valiant shared universe, starting with this Vin Diesel film.
Really?
Yeah, that's their whole plan.
Mm-hmm. Okay, because I honestly couldn't tell based on this movie.
No, I couldn't either, and they said that apparently there were things that were supposed to be set up in this movie that would inform their shared universe, but I don't know what those things are, and I just watched it, so yeah.
So there's
speaking of Valiant, movie that was supposed to originally come out. I'm looking at this again because I can't remember what it was, but there was another one that they were going to make instead first, and then for some reason that fell through, so they made this one instead. I'm not sure which property it was now, but anyway.
Yeah, Valiant Comics is one of those things where I'm a comic book reader, or at least I used to be, and I know plenty of people who read comics, and I don't really know anybody who reads Valiant comics. I know that there are Valiant comic books. I don't know if it's like some kind of insurance scam that is, like an extension of some company where they have to show a loss so that they can like recoup some losses or whatever. But I don't know, like what's next? Archer and Armstrong or Exo Manowar or Ninjak or
Ninjak. Well, and they did a fan film thing with Bat in the Sun or somebody with Ninjak, played by Jason David Frank, I think. And I watched that, and for that kind of thing, it was fun. But it's kind of weird that they did that around the same time as this, where like this is a Sony Pictures movie, but then Valiant is also doing this like fan film thing, and that felt a lot more like it was trying to set up some kind of a shared universe. So I don't really know what Valiant is doing right now, but anyway, apparently Harbinger was the thing that was supposed to come first, and then they were going to make this, and then they were going to try to build to Harbinger War was supposed to be like their big kind of Avengers type thing.
Okay.
I say was supposed to be because I can't imagine that this continues on after this with, as little money as this made, but who knows? Because I guess I don't know how it did on video. Like it made, a little bit more than half its money back in the theater before the theaters got shut down. And so then 2 weeks after that, they immediately put it out so that people could watch it.
Yeah, and I guess we should let the listeners know that this quarantine has been going on so long that this movie was released the final weekend before theaters were shut down. Like the last weekend theaters were open was when this came out, and it bombed hard because nobody wanted to go to the theater. And now it's actually like out on like Blu-ray and 4K and for rental digitally. So that's how long this has been going on, guys.
Yeah, it's the last thing that you and I were supposed to review. Mm-hmm. And we actually had plans to go see this in the theater, and then the quarantine happened, and we weren't able to go.
Yeah, and then I proposed that we rent it for $20, and I think Cap was very smart and frugal and said, let's not do that.
I was the voice of reason on that. I was like, nobody went and saw this movie. Nobody has asked me to review this. So we're just doing it now because it's convenient and because it's a comic book thing. And Connor was curious enough to watch it. So I was like, sure, I'll look at this too. Why not? I don't tend to watch a lot of Vin Diesel things or whatever, but this probably counts for Superhero Rewind. So someday I'll have to review this, like when I'm in my 70s, I'll like finally get to this. But anyway, so we went ahead and looked at it, and we'll tell you how we felt about it. So part of the reason I wanted to mention that, because I've got this theory, Connor, when I said that I don't think very many people have actually read Valiant stuff. They like to make a big deal out of, a best-selling comic book from like 1992 or 93. You got to remember the era that we were living in comics at that period. A lot of people were buying comics that weren't reading them. I think that's a really important thing to mention. Like the big reason that we had the comic crash was because of all the folks that thought that they could put their kids through college buying comic books. You had a lot of people who were buying comics as an investment before anything else, and Valiant, I think, rode that wave really hard. I have actually sold quite a few, or not sold. I have had quite a few Valiant comics in big collections I bought that I have put online or in flea market booths. I don't know that I've ever sold an issue of a Valiant comic, but I have had them for sale before, and they pop up everywhere. And I am convinced that very few people have actually read those books when they bought them. And so I mentioned that to say this is a really, to my mind, generic premise in the first place. Not even talking about the movie so much as just the actual notion of this. It's kind of just a hodgepodge of a couple, three things all put together. And, you know, I guess it could be great, but I don't think this is an iconic character the way that they're trying to play it. Like, I don't think anybody thinks of Bloodshot as like a beloved, you know, iconic sort of comic character. This is RoboCop meets Wolverine meets Deadpool. That's what it is. Like
a little bit of Blade Runner thrown in there.
Yeah, I guess so.
So I guess we should elaborate on what the premise of this movie is. Yeah. I didn't watch any trailers for this, and I'm glad I didn't, because I did watch the trailer after watching the movie, and they kind of spoiled the most interesting thing about this movie. This stars Vin Diesel, a 52-year-old man as a 35-year-old soldier, and
you know what, though, it
I don't
works.
know how.
No, that works though. I don't have any problem with it. Vin Diesel has hardly aged, and we get hyperbolic about that. We say that about actors a lot. I don't see it with Vin Diesel. I don't think he looks like he's 50.
Oh, he looks like he's 52, all right to me. And I feel like I've been watching Vin Diesel's midlife crisis for the last 5 years, and this isn't as bad as Triple.
But maybe that's because I don't watch him. You know what I mean?
Maybe,
yeah. I know I've seen some Vin Diesel stuff. I've seen Riddick and stuff. But like I came into this and I'm like, I don't know. He doesn't look 50 to me.
I mean, it's not as this movie's not as embarrassing as like Return of Xander Cage, which was Triple X3, which that one is just like Vin Diesel's midlife crisis on full display, where he is just. He's the coolest guy. He's surrounded by a bunch of young, hot people, but he's the coolest guy that they all love and all look up to and all respect. And he can do anything because he's just so awesome. And this is kind of like that at first, and then there's a little bit more going on, but not a whole lot. But he's still the coolest guy in the room. Yeah. It's like it's not as bad as Return of Xander Cage, but
I agree that it looks like he's having a midlife crisis with all the projects he's doing. Don't get me wrong. It's just watching this movie, I was like, kind of surprised that he didn't seem any, you know, all that much older than they were acting like he was. But I don't know if he's supposed to be 35, maybe 40s.
I don't know.
They are ambiguous about the age, which helps, I guess. But
there's a throwaway line where I gotta get into the premise. Okay.
Yeah.
So Vin Diesel plays a 52 playing a 35-year-old soldier who is still taking orders from a commanding officer who dies because Toby Kebbell kills his wife and then kills him, and then he wakes up and he's been reanimated by this company that is run by Guy Pearce. Also with him is Isaac Gonzalez from Baby Driver and the last Fast and Furious spinoff. And so basically what they said is they have nanites in his blood, and they brought him back to life, and he finds out that he can track down the guy who killed his wife, and then he goes and he tries to kill him. So that's the premise of Bloodshot. It's basically just he's an augmented dead human zombie corpse guy. So
and the big bit of that's important that you missed, I guess, is just amnesia.
Amnesia. Yeah. That's true.
That he doesn't know who he is at all, but then something triggers his memory of his wife, and then revenge. But it's not exactly what you think it is.
Yeah. So Captain Logan.
Yeah.
How did you feel about Bloodshot?
This is real generic. Like, it's a serviceable action movie. There's some fun to be had here. The kind of twist 45 minutes in, which is really more of the premise of the movie than anything, is fine. It's kind of, I think it's decently well seated, although there's one scene that I feel like with Guy Pearce couldn't possibly be the way it's given to the audience if what's happening is really happening, where he is, I don't know, I don't want to give stuff away, I guess, so I won't talk about that, but like, I think there's a little bit of cheating that happens. One of the things that's weird about this movie for me is, I start kind of tallying up the conveniences, and then it turns out that stuff that I thought was really convenient actually isn't, and because what we think is happening isn't exactly what's happening. So I end up appreciating that, but the movie is only slightly smarter than the movie I thought it was. Right, so like, you know, I'm not really going with it, and I'm going, oh, this is way too easy. Like, Vin Diesel is hearing exactly the song, you know, Psycho Killer, that was playing when his wife got killed, and I'm like, that seems too easy. And then it turns out it actually isn't too easy, and I'm like, okay, that's nice. And then I watch the rest of the movie, and it gets really predictable after that. And I'm like, okay, you are only slightly smarter than the movie I thought I was watching. So I don't know, that's kind of unfortunate. I got taken out constantly by the action in this movie. It's just really gimmicky slow motion and like almost still shots, you know, freeze frame stuff. It's
a quick time event. They're quick time events.
They are, yeah. That's the way to put it, right? It's so 2006, right? Like this.
Oh my god, that's my note. Did this movie fall out of 2006?
You said the exact same year that I just did.
Yes.
That's amazing. Well, it is. Connor and I agree. This feels like it should have come out in 2006, and I'm not feeling it. It's not completely unwatchable, but it's pretty generic. It's pretty standard fare. The love interest is handled in a pretty obvious way. They have as much chemistry as I guess you're gonna have with Vin Diesel and a real generic love interest girl. She's fine. Some of the tech ideas in this are kind of fun. I guess I like the idea of his eventual girlfriend having, because the idea is a lot of the characters in this are augmented in some way with technology, and there's kind of a bad guy character that forces them all to do what they want because he has control of them. He has access to whatever that technology is, and so she's kind of kept on a short leash because she had some kind of respiratory problem and has a machine in her that allows her to breathe, and he can turn that off at any moment. And so there's some stuff like that that I thought was handled okay. Honestly, I've got like premise issues with this. Like I have a hard time getting with it with the initial impetus, Connor, where I'm like, I don't know how to, again, it's hard to talk about this without giving away the big, you know, kind of reveal 45 minutes in.
Do we want to give it out because the trailer gave it away?
Yeah, I mean, like, we're 12 minutes into our review. Like, I don't know, maybe Connor, go ahead and flip your sign real quick, and then we'll just go ahead and talk about that and do some quick spoilers, because like nobody's gonna care about a full-blown spoiler cast for this. But the big things I'm gonna complain about, I can't without talking about that. I'm realizing in the moment here. So you go ahead and do yours, and then yeah.
Well, I'm covered in my color, but I'm not feeling it. So, like you had said, we talk about like Venom, and we say like, wow, this feels like a 2004 movie, right?
Yeah.
This actually feels like a 2006 movie, not just in its premise and like the story it's telling, with like the slight gimmick that makes you think it's just a little bit smarter than it really is. Mm-hmm. But like it's made like a 2006 movie, like right when like the opening like studio titles were happening, I'm like, wow, the saturation was cranked all the way up on this thing. And
it's like Vin Diesel is only in movies that have massive color saturation. Have you noticed that?
What are you talking about? Fast and Furious 8 had a muted, serious color palette.
So, yeah, maybe like it's everything, though, right? It's the Vin Diesel. It's the premise. It's the really high color saturation. It's like the 300 just came out quick. We gotta like do some speed ramping with the action. You know, it's the like. It feels like Tony Scott and Michael Bay are making like the most popular action movie, so we got to make something that looks like that. And it's also very obvious this is a first-time director who's had maybe some experience working in the industry before. From what I understand, this director has worked like on visual effects for a lot of films, including like Avengers: Age of Ultron. And I was looking into it, and he actually did video games, which makes sense because when I was watching it, like the big climax, which takes place on an elevator ramp, looks like a high-end video game.
Especially the
like a
parts
video
that are
game.
just CG Vin Diesel, like with a close-up of his face. There's one shot where he's like flying backwards and he's not there. There is no Vin Diesel in that shot.
And they do, like I said it before, they feel like QuickTime events.
Yeah.
I'll say the best thing about this movie is Isa Gonzalez. She is a real screen presence who is like a decent actress, and she like pulls off like her physicality very well. Like I buy her as like a tough chick.
That's true.
And like I think she's really good. Guy Pearce is here. I like Guy Pearce, and Toby Kebbell. Boy,
he's completely typecast. Guy Pearce is just playing the same, almost exactly the same role he did in Iron Man 3. Like that's why he's here.
He is, but and then like Toby Kebbell, can this guy please catch a break? He's a really good actor, but he's in like Fant Four Stick. He's in this. He like when he is in a great movie like Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, he's under a bunch of CGI makeup. Like you never see him in like a really good movie. But
who even is that? I don't know who that is.
He's the guy who's dancing to Psycho Killer, and
okay, yeah,
and he played Koba in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, that's Koba. Interesting. Okay,
and he's also the only good thing about Warcraft, where he played like the orc who was like rebelling and trying to form an alliance in Warcraft. He's a good actor. I wish he could catch a break. But I think honestly, a lot of the actors who aren't Vin Diesel are the best thing about this movie.
And when he started doing the I gotta say this real quick, when he started doing the Psycho Killer dance, I thought maybe we were gonna have like a bad guy with like some fun personality and charm. It was just kind of like a 80s like action movie sadist type character, and I thought that might have been fun. And then that doesn't happen.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is I thought there was. So I don't think this is a poorly directed movie, but it's not a particularly good directed movie either. It's very mediocre in terms of how it's directed, and you can tell it's a first-time director. But there's one shot that actually had like authentic style to it, and that's like the one shot where it's like pulling back while he's dancing to Psycho Killer. Like that created a mood and a style and an atmosphere, and it felt like a movie. It was cool.
Yeah, and it sucks when a thing like that happens that early because that's establishing a mood that it doesn't really get to through the rest of it. So, you think you know what you're getting yourself into, and then it gets really generic after that. Yeah. No, I was somewhat not impressed, but thought that it had potential because of that scene.
Yeah, and that actually used the color. Like I'm not even talking about necessarily that whole scene. It's that one shot that's an extended shot that's cool, and like it kind of was making use of like color contrast as well, and like because he's wearing a white coat and everything's all green, and so it kind of like has him pop out a little bit, and but everything else is very shallow depth of focus in every single shot in this movie except for that one, and a lot of close-ups, a lot of detail shots, there's not a lot of like, and you can tell they built sets for this movie, and they don't really give us a master shot or
it's
a two-shot.
It's that Schneider problem where we're not establishing anything, and it looks like a TV pilot.
I'm glad you mentioned that because that's also in my notes. I think we're very much in line with this one, but I'll say that. And then also later in the movie, Lenore Morris shows up as a hacker. His character was kind of annoying, but that guy had charm that this movie was desperately needing.
Yeah, he was, and it was real forced. I think that's one of the big things that checks off your boxes of feels like a mid-2000s movie, right? Like you've also got to force in that comic relief. You've always got that, and in those movies, it was usually like a bouncy, quirky black guy. Like that's a stereotype.
Chris Tucker. Yep.
Yeah. So they checked that off. Yeah.
So
also the straight up Hans Zimmer ripoff soundtrack that also checks off a box because it's just begins in Dark Knight again but generic. Like the entire score is that.
Yeah, but I will say the worst thing about this movie is Vin Diesel. Look, Vin Diesel
which is funny because the only praise this movie is getting is his performance, and I don't understand that.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Because here's my thing with Vin Diesel. You're too old for playing like cool, cocky, badass. You're too old for it, man. Like
I agree with that. I just think he looks younger than you're saying he does. But
what's like I was talking to this about Rasco, and Rasco had said, "Well, what else is he gonna do? What else do you cast Vin Diesel as?" I'm like, Frasco, we talked on Geekvolution. We talked about this movie called Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk. Nobody watched it. It was one of Ang Lee's weird experimental movies. Not very good, but it made perfect use of Vin Diesel. He's a stoic, big, tough guy, but he's got this zen kind of personality, and he's really chill and laid back. He's also the commanding officer, so they make use that he's like old enough to be in charge of giving people commands. So it's like, that's how you use Vin Diesel. Yeah, you typecast him, but I mean, have you heard him talk? He can't give out more than one expression. Oh my God. But like, I feel like the movie realizes that Vin Diesel is not that great, because once the big twist happens, Bloodshot he's not really the main character of his own movie anymore.
Yeah.
It really becomes more of an ensemble piece, and he's just a part in a larger puzzle. And boy, oh boy, if this was just like a movie, and I'm not thinking about this is based on a comic book or anything, I'm just grading this as a movie.
Yeah.
Like, Isa Gonzalez's character is much more interesting. Why couldn't this have been about her? Oh, wait, that's right. It's based on a Bloodshot comic book. So that's what I'll say. That's kind of my piece on it. So I was unimpressed.
She reminds me a little bit of the girl from Hellboy, actually, just in characterization.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Not the crappy Hellboy, but like the good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
The fire chick. I forget her name right now.
Yeah, and if
Liz?
anyone at home is... yeah, I think it is Liz. Or
Yeah.
Liz?
Yeah.
If anyone at home is keeping track, this is another franchise that Vin Diesel's hoping to be in, where his potential love interest is a very tough chick of Latin descent. So you can check that one off too.
So let's go ahead and just do some quick spoilers. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but in case you don't care or you saw this movie, we'll talk about the twist thing, because I think it just messes with the premise. I don't understand why Guy Pearce's character, this mercenary organization, even feels the need to do this with Vin Diesel the way they do it. I have some questions about this. So the idea is that the whole premise that Connor just gave us is actually a lie. So we think that Vin Diesel gets that his wife gets killed, and then he gets killed, and then they take his body, this mercenary organization, reprogram, putting nanites in him. The reprogramming thing happens, but his wife actually is still alive. She didn't get killed, and so they're programming him, and I think this is kind of a fun idea if you can make me buy that they need to do this. That we reprogram him over and over again, so that different people that the mercenaries are hired to kill have are different faces of the guy that killed Vin Diesel's wife. So they wipe his memory, and then they say somebody else did it, and then he remembers the person that they need him to go kill, and so he wants revenge, and he goes and kills them. It's a fun idea on paper until you start thinking about it for any amount of time. So why not? So like this this technology is super sophisticated, and they can make him think anything they want. So you could take a little bit more time and just rewrite his entire memory and not make him think he has amnesia, and give him any memories you want to, and give him any motivation for killing the people you want him to kill, and have him just keep working for you. And then if he wants to go off half-cocked for some reason at some point, then you just wipe his memory and start over. But why do you have to keep re-wiping him over and over again like that?
It's an issue in the premise that the movie kind of addresses without realizing it addresses, because they do eventually send Isa Gonzalez's character to do a mission covertly and not as a blunt explosive object, and she does it. I don't get why we have to go through the whole process.
Yeah, and also I think they're lying to him about what exactly they are. They're a mercenary organization. I think they're pretending like they're government. I don't remember. I'm not sure exactly what they're pretending like they are to him. But when we see them, wake him up the first time, because he's already killed people for them. He's already been woken. I think, right? He's already been woken up before. This is and then they say we're gonna do it just one more time. So they've done it a few times now. But the first time we see it happen, and of course Vin Diesel thinks it's the first time, they give him this long-winded explanation about where he is and what they're expecting of him, and he's going with it, and it seems like he's planning on working with them. And in fact, there's this whole motif that keeps coming back that's kind of cheesy. I always come home, and so he's gonna go try to get revenge on this guy that he thinks killed his wife, the psycho killer guy. And then he says he'll be back and he's going to work with them. So, like, just run with that. I don't understand. Like, just keep lying to him and say that the people that he's going after are, like, people the government needs him to take out. He's already a soldier. I think it would be pretty easy to get him to keep working for you. But the other thing is, Connor, I don't even know if they need a human being. I don't know why this can't be a RoboCop situation, because their nanites are so sophisticated, all they need is a body with a working brain. So why can't they just reprogram his brain all the time with the nanites to just do whatever they need him to do? You don't need a personality. RoboCop has a built-in reason that it has to be a human being. He's going to be a cop, and so he needs to be able to make informed emotional, or not emotional, but decisions based on compassion, right? But these guys are mercenaries. There's no built-in reason it needs to be a person. Like what they want is an automaton, and they have that.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Send a drone.
And they have those too, and they have really sophisticated drones.
So there's also I didn't talk about this in
You're right, the technology is beyond what it probably was in the comic book almost 20 years later as we're making it now. So this is a 90s premise that maybe works in the 90s in a way it doesn't work now.
That's true. But hey, if you bought, one of the 500 Bloodshot #1s, because they reboot this all the time, you might be able to pay your kid's college tuition now because they made a movie out of it. So
now that's going to skyrocket in value.
Yeah, it was a 20-year investment, but it really paid off. Okay, so there's a guy who just really hates Bloodshot. I have no idea why he hates
Me neither.
Bloodshot.
What is that guy's motivation? Like, he's just angry.
It'd be like if in like RoboCop somebody's just like, I really hate you, Murphy. You suck. And he's like, why? And they're like, good, isn't he such a jerk? It's like, what's your deal, dude? And then then he puts on arms and he's like, I'm gonna get you, man. I'm like, what is this guy's problem?
Oh yeah, he turns into Dr. Octopus at the end.
He does, yeah.
Do you think that watches like they cut something out, or like they never had a plan with that guy? He was just always gonna hate Bloodshot, whatever that guy's real name is, for no reason. Because like, I can make up a reason. You could get there pretty easily. Yeah.
It feels like that's like a placeholder thing, because it's like, what are the cliches? Okay, you got the chick that he might get with. Okay, you got the one who has no personality. You got the boss, and then you got the one who's a bit of a hothead, doesn't get along with the main guy. That's like the blanket kind of generic format for like a team like this. And then they didn't bother to have a reason why they don't like he doesn't like him. He just doesn't, because that's, I don't know.
I thought for a minute that he was going to be like Jackie Earle Haley's character in the RoboCop remake, where it was going to be like, and that guy's motivation ultimately doesn't really make any sense either. This reminded me of that some. I still think I'd rather watch this than that, which is crazy. But yeah, because I at least have a better sense of like what's happening and everybody else's motivations. I think I actually have to say this is a better movie than that, which is not really saying all that much. But it also helps that this is not material that I have any investment in at all, and RoboCop is. That's true. But I thought it might be like Jackie Earle Haley's character in that remake, where he doesn't like RoboCop because he doesn't think of him as a person and he's an automaton. But it's not like that, and there's not really any identity exploration at all in this.
Yeah. So I've got 2 points I want to make.
Yeah.
One of which is, it was a mistake to cast Vin Diesel in this movie. I'm sorry, he's my worst thing about this movie. He's such a blunt presence that it's like once he does the thing, it becomes very repetitive because he's just going to do the thing again. And then, oh, there's another guy I have to go kill. Then he just like punches people, and look, he's 52, and you can tell that there's a lot of stunt people doing the heavy lifting for him.
I didn't
like there's like
that,
the part.
Sure.
Oh, you didn't? Okay, because like at the beginning of the movie, there's like there's a part where he's like, got his shirt off or whatever, but once he turns around, it's like perfectly placed wife's head in front of his midsection. So you just see like his chest, see how impressive he is, and you're not seeing his, 52-year-old gut hanging out. And so it's like, oh, okay, I see what's up. But then like there's the first big action scene when he's Bloodshot, where he's in like a tunnel. There's a lot of quick insert shots of Vin Diesel going like, or like that. But there's a lot of, body double running while a conveniently placed bar of light is going right in front of his face, and he's going like this, and you can just make it out, oh, that's a big bald dude, must be Vin Diesel. Or it's like behind his head, or it's somebody's grabbing a bald guy's face and they're blocking the face. Like there's a lot of that in this movie. And it's interesting because like I imagine like kind of there's like a part where Isaac Gonzalez's character has to like fight a few people off. And they probably used a stunt double for that, but I wasn't thinking about that. But when it's like Vin Diesel and he's in a lot of action scenes, I could just tell it wasn't him.
Well, maybe he wouldn't have been written as much like a plot device in his own movie if it wasn't a Vin Diesel star vehicle.
Maybe.
Because you're right, he does kind of disappear in his own movie. Like once we know what the whole gimmick is, what the twist is, it's like, he just wants to get his life back, and then he can't get his life back, but he's kind of missing in his own movie.
And then he goes back to his home and he has memories of being home, but this home has no people. And oh my God, I mean, he goes to go see his wife, and she's not actually his wife. They broke up, I guess. So
that scene was better written than I thought it would be, though. I like that she hugs him right away. Like I like that she's not like that. Like that scene usually is in a big dumb action movie like this. I mean, I'm gonna give it what I can give it. Like usually a scene like that is written like, "What are you doing here? Leave! We're not together anymore." And she would have like no sympathy for him whatsoever. And I like that it's not like that. That like their lives just weren't conducive with each other anymore. And she's like, "Well, you couldn't give me what I wanted, so I broke up with you and married somebody else." But she doesn't hate him. She doesn't have like a revenge motive for no good reason.
Oh yeah, definitely. It is better written. I think the way Vin Diesel doesn't have chemistry with a log, so it was like a lot of their dialogue was kind of awkward to me. But
no,
also
she
the
was
way
okay.
she was good.
That wife character was
fun fact, she was in Inception.
Oh, okay.
If you remember, she played.
I saw that one time.
Remember how Tom Hardy can change his face, and he like changes his face to look like an attractive lady to like get some information.
Oh, and that's who that is.
That's her.
Oh,
so that was
weird.
cool.
That's
fun. I like Inception. Inception is one of my favorite movies ever. So
it's good. I just haven't seen it in a long time.
And I guess this actress was also married to Elon Musk twice for like 7 years. So fun fact.
Weird.
Because I was like, I've seen this girl before, so I looked her up, and I guess those are the two things that popped up. But the thing is, the other thing that I have an issue with in terms of like the big twist that happens is I thought it was going to be more interesting than it was, but it just has one big move. It happens early, and that's it. Kudos to them for not doing the really 90s thing of like saving that for the very end and just dragging its feet. But I
would have thought that that's what we were going to, and at first I thought we were just going to build to him finally killing the guy who we thought killed his wife, and I'm really glad it wasn't that, because like 45 minutes in I go, oh, okay, well now I don't know where this is going. It could get really interesting, and then it doesn't. Not really. Oh, also, how does he actually die?
I have no idea. That's a good question.
Am I right about that? Like, how did he die?
I don't know.
Or did he die? Did they kidnap him and kill him? Anything is possible. I don't think that happened. I'm pretty sure it's not.
I guess so. But the second thing I wanted to mention, though, is that, like, with the twist, is that when it started off, I was like, geez, this is just like every mid-2000s action movie. High contrast, light leaks, lens flares, shallow depth of field, some handheld stuff. Like, I'm like, oh my word. It's like right before Paul Greengrass got on board with Bourne. It's like all those action movies. It's like Mission Impossible 3.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's Armageddon. It's like all of Tony Scott's movies. It's that. And I'm like, okay, but it's just not as good as those movies are in terms of how they're made. And then you get the twist, which is it's all fake. And I'm like, oh, this will be awesome. Now we're going to change up the filming style. Maybe it's going to be a completely different movie just from
shot exactly the same way. Yeah.
But then it's shot exactly the same way. And then Guy Pearce starts talking about, oh man, we already used every cliche in the book. And then it succumbs to every cliche in the book. And so it's like, man, you just had one big move. And you're right. You think you're smarter than you are. And you're just barely smarter than what we thought you were at the beginning. So
going all the way down to Guy Pearce's character, villain, of course, has to have a an excuse, like flimsy moral justification for what he's doing, where he says, well, it's okay for me to try to control all these people because people don't actually want to make choices. They just want to feel like they had a choice. And I really hate it when a movie like this tries to throw in that as a message. Where it's like trying to do some social commentary now, like in this day and age, people are lemmings and they want to be lemmings, because it's trying to appeal to the audience that is like that. Like, the movie itself is kind of doing that, where, like, I watch a movie like this and I say, okay, so what this movie is saying but doesn't want you to realize it's saying, Connor, is people watching movies don't want to actually use their own brains and be intelligent. They just want to feel like they are. And then it puts that same idea in the villain's mouth as social commentary, and it's a little insulting.
Yeah, this movie does kind of do the Batman versus Superman thing of just sort of like throwing ideas every once in a while, and you're like, that's a potentially interesting idea, and then the movie's not about that.
Right.
Like there's like the twist sort of has this whole idea of like the disposable nature of like soldiers, and how a lot of time like the military can just like use itself as like this, like no, you fight for your country, but it's just using them as like a disposable force of people.
Which again, just, like, RoboCop was actually kind of about.
Yes. And then like you think, oh, because like Guy Pearce has that line of like somebody says like you're like disposing of him or something, like it's what the government does anyways. And so you're like, oh, who's the like is the company really that bad? Or I mean, the company's that bad, but there's also other stuff that are that bad too. And then it's kind of like maybe throwing ideas about how like corporations might project that they're actually really altruistic with their motives, but they're really doing bad stuff, and using like flimsy moral justifications to excuse their actions because we're doing bad things for an eventual good reason. And it kind of has all these ideas in the middle of it, in like it's a couple of scenes.
But it's just
lip service. Yeah. It's just lip service, and they don't do anything with it. So yeah, so it kind of got my hopes up. It's just there
because, again, it's checking boxes. These are things that are supposed to be in movies. That's why it's there. I mean, I say it's insulting. Some things like that, I don't know if you're even supposed to be like duped into thinking that it's a really smart movie so much as, like I said, just like you're supposed to feel like you're smart for going, hey, look, social commentary. And also just because, again, these are things that are supposed to be in movies. You're supposed to have a love interest. You're supposed to have a quirky comic relief character. You're supposed to have a big slow motion fight at the end, and you're supposed to have social commentary.
It feels like the people who wrote this had an idea of what they wanted to do with the movie, and then the director was told to just make a movie, and his ideas of the kind of action movie he wanted to make were the kind of action movies that the script was critiquing, and so he just kind of filmed it. And so it's actually interesting. The story was by, and the screenplay was co-written by Jeff Wadlow.
I know who that name.
Your favorite movie is Kick-Ass 2, right? He directed that.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And he I mean, I haven't seen it, thank God, but I have seen Truth or Dare, Blumhouse's Truth or Dare, which is from him, and he recently made the Blumhouse's Fantasy Island, instant classic. The guy's just on a roll. He's just doing the Lord's work.
Was Truth or Dare terrible?
Yes.
Okay.
It was maybe the worst or second worst movie of the year it came out. It was just dreadful.
Well, I'm sure Blumhouse's Fantasy Island is fantastic. That's where he finally hit his stride, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's 9% on Rotten Tomatoes, has me jazzed, so we're ready to go.
I was going to mention that, too. This has 30% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I don't mean to live and by Rotten Tomatoes by any stretch. There are movies that have gotten that low of a score that I actually like okay, but generally speaking, maybe 8 times out of 10, you're probably not going to be able to start a shared universe real well with a movie that got 30% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's just my guess. Because usually movies that with that low of a score also didn't perform super well either.
Also, when you release your movie alongside a pandemic, that's gonna take the wind out of your sails as well.
Sure, even if it was good, yeah.
Even
Uh,
if, yeah, and even if it was good.
So I meant to mention this earlier when you were talking about cinematography. This is kind of the last point I wanted to bring up, but there's a cinematography issue I noticed that I wanted to ask you about, because at first I went, okay, this is dumb, and then I went, maybe they're doing something with it, and then they weren't doing something with it, and I went, this is dumb. So when we're introduced to his wife in, I'm not even sure is anything really happening or not. I don't know if if this is a memory or if this is part of what's programmed into his brain. I started having that question. He gets off the plane and then he goes over to his wife and we never see her face. We keep like shooting around her, and it's just like her hair from the back, and I'm like, why is the idea that we're supposed to like just be focused on Vin Diesel and she's supposed to be sort of a non-entity, and there's like some kind of story reason that we're not seeing her face, and then they sleep together later and we see her face, like a lot, like close-ups right on her face, and I don't know why we shot it like that. That was weird.
Maybe they couldn't get that actress for that day, so they had to get like a body double or something because it's a different location from where it is later. So like they just had a body double and like made sure that the lens flares were getting over her face and we were shooting around her. Maybe that was what was going on.
The twist was retroactively. I went, no, we could have done something with that.
Absolutely, that's what we could have done.
Anyway, anything else you want to make sure I mention about this? We've talked about this for far too long.
I think we have. Wow, geez, 40 minutes. All right.
40 minutes on Bloodshot. Oh, we haven't talked about the lack of costume. We should probably mention that whole thing. That they do the, again, mid-2000s superhero thing and TV superhero thing of do like a makeshift pseudo costume, but not a real actual superhero costume. He's not really wearing what he does in the comics, or, the covers that I've seen, because I haven't read Bloodshot, and neither has anyone else, okay? Nobody has! Somebody's gonna leave a comment and say they read Bloodshot, and I don't believe you. No, I'm kidding. So, you get to the third act, and he gets, like, the red thing in his chest because of the nanite buildup or whatever, and now he looks sort of like Bloodshot, because everything's gotta be a like origin story that's not just an origin of the character, but of like the real basic things that anybody would know about these characters, and that kind of thing just drives me crazy.
Yeah, looking at Bloodshot, you'd think he was a part of the Japanese army from World War II, but I guess he's not. He just has a big red circle in the middle of a white shirt or something.
Yeah, it's not like it's a real distinctive thing. How hard would it have been to just have him wear that?
I don't know. Also, it's weird that because like you said, based on all the covers I think I hit my microphone. I'm sorry. Based on all of the covers of Bloodshot I've seen, and I've seen a lot of covers for Bloodshot. Let me tell you what.
I usually put a lot of covers for Bloodshot in a flea market booth. I'm not going to say I've ever sold one.
Look, I mean, I've seen him. He's holding guns. Where are the guns in this movie? He also has like these like red eyes, and like in this movie, it's like they were like, oh, crap, we're making a Bloodshot movie. You know what? Inexplicably give him red eyes at the end because comic books, and so he looks like he's all like kind of like his skin is all kind of like dead looking, and it's all pale and like ghostly, and he's got the darker red eyes, and he's got the big glowing red chest and everything. And I'm like, oh, I remember seeing that on a cover maybe one time. And then it was over.
It's really tickling my nostalgia buttons. Let me tell you.
It's really tickling my nostalgia for 2006. That's for sure.
If they had to cast an action actor in his 50s for this, it should have been Michael Jai White. Clearly.
Honestly, while I was watching this, Lenore Morris, who plays the hacker, I was like, how come this guy isn't Bloodshot?
He should have been Bloodshot. Yeah.
Yeah, like he's super quippy.
And let him have a British accent. Why not?
Yeah, I mean he's not British. That's a fake British accent. So it's
okay, but it's not a bad British accent. I bought it.
Definitely not. But like, okay, he's really quippy and kind of gets on people's nerves. Okay, maybe that's why that guy's annoyed with him all the time. Okay, he's a really charming guy. Maybe that's why this chick is into him. You know what I mean? It's like you just remove Vin Diesel out of it and put in another actor from the same movie, and I would have bought the character more.
Well, yeah, because if you take out the RoboCop and the Wolverine of this movie is Deadpool if the lead character is not trying to be funny. Like that's what it is.
You are right. Yeah, it's got a lot of that.
Anyway,
Man.
we're gonna get going.
Yeah, we're done.
Yeah, that guy that's mad at him for no reason, he's like Ajax. He's like mad for no reason.
Oh my god, he is!
Yeah.
He totally is, yeah.
Anyway, well, everybody, thanks a lot for watching. It looks like my computer is wanting to restart, so we should end before that happens. Hope everybody enjoyed our 45-minute pseudo-spoiler cast on Bloodshot. And we'll see you again for another review down the road, I'm sure. I'm Captain Logan, and this was Connor Nielsen.
Bye.
Later, folks.